Hey there, everybody. Jan Anderson here in the San Francisco Bay Area. We haven't burned up yet. How about that? We're in Healdsburg. We were in an evacuation warning for almost a full week. So that was fun, having our bags packed and having to be ready to fly out the door in case we got the order. Anyway, fortunately, we didn't have to do that, but we still have a lot of smoke and fire going on around. It's nasty. I don't recommend it. Anyway, there's some noise happening in the Bay, and not the Bay Area, but in my neighborhood right now. They're mowing the park lawns right over there, so I can't record. So I thought I'd take a minute and talk to you about performance uh, performance obstacles. Um, Now this can, I mean, there are a lot of obstacles that might be potentially getting in your way. Everything from acting inability or weakness to oh a speech impediment or something like that, and even something that I have to deal with a little bit as I scratch my eye. Pardon me, and that is I have a little touch of lysdixia. I mean dyslexia. See what I did there? That is gold right there. Uh, anyway, always going for the low-hanging fruit. Anyway, yeah, I've got a little touch of dyslexia, and I never knew it growing up. As a matter of fact, I didn't know it until I really started getting into voiceover and reading scripts that have either acronyms that are 3 or more letters long or numbers that are 3 or more digits long. I will transpose letters and numbers depending upon which it is. So when I'm performing, sometimes I'll be rolling right along, going through an e-learning script or something like that, where these kind of things appear a lot. And I'll just come to a screeching halt, being faced with a 4-digit number or acronym. Because it's like, okay, I know I have problems with these, got to say it right. Or I'll just read right through it. And upon proof listening, I pick it up, I see, ups, there I did it again. So in my case, I have to be really careful about those issues, switching up letters and words, numbers. And so, it's a challenge. I mean, I still do a lot of that kind of work. Uh, and fortunately, I get hired to do it again and again, but it's just something I have had to overcome. Certainly not necessarily by retraining my brain necessarily, but just being aware of my problem and correcting it wherever I can. Sometimes I miss these things, and my producer will say, Jan, you transposed this and this, and so I'll have to make the corrections. Like, oh, sorry. I don't give them this whole song and dance about why it happens to me, but, I mitigate it as much as possible. I know other people, nationally recognized voice talent, that have a lisp. I know a number of people that have a lisp, but you can't hear it because they have trained with a speech pathologist or something along those lines, so that even though their tongue still does the weird thing in their mouth, you cannot tell that it's happening by listening to them. You can see it when you're talking to them one-on-one, but being a voice talent, what matters is what people hear, of course. Other people have another impediment where they're R's. They have a problem with R's. And so it sounds almost like an ow, something like that. You know how sometimes it starts when you're a kid, and but sometimes that stays with people into their adulthood, and they just work with a speech pathologist. It really depends upon whatever your hurdle is, whatever your obstacle is. Many times there are a way of overcoming it. Sometimes you might not be able to get your head around a certain performance style, whether it's a hard sell read or, even more importantly, a soft sell or even an intimate style read. I come from theater, and everything was bigger. Even more subtle performances were always bigger for the stage, and you're projecting to the back of the room. Well, I had to unlearn a lot of that. Well, not unlearn it necessarily, but realize that your microphone should be treated as somebody's ear, as if you're in that kind of proximity. So there's a lot that could be standing in your way to certain types of performance, or even just reading out loud. A lot of people have a hard time reading aloud and not sounding like they're reading. That's their obstacle. Another example would be if you grew up somewhere where there's a strong regional accent and you've got that, embedded in your person, it can be hard to find national work that way. Most of the time, people are looking for a more neutral accent, but there are actors that go to speech coaches to not unlearn their accent, but to learn a more neutral accent. I mean, a great example of that is Mel Gibson, Australian actor, very well known. Well, he had a very strong Australian accent, and he does normally anyway, but he learned an American accent so that he could be cast for a wider range of roles. It's the voice acting is tough, and sometimes you've got to go through certain extra steps depending upon your needs as an actor and the kind of work that you want to be able to reach in order to achieve those goals. So that's just another example. So I guess what this message is about is many of these obstacles are you can overcome them. You can work through them. It might take additional training from a speech pathologist. It might take additional coaching in a particular style of read. It might simply, like in my case, being aware of a certain brain incorrectly, there's a mismatch in the wiring in there somewhere, and so I see things incorrectly sometimes, and you just have to work around them or work through them. Yes, it might be more expensive to incur some of the costs involved with coaching and relearning and all this kind of thing. But if you're serious about this business, you have to rise to the level of the pros that are nationally recognized talent. At least that's a good way to think about it. That could be a goal. You may not reach it. That's okay. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive for it, to have a goal, something to attain. So you're always reaching higher. In this business, you should never think that you're done learning. There's always something new to pick up. There's always a new nuance to your performance that you can grab. There's always something to heighten your performance ability. So anyway, with that in mind, I'll just say, don't worry about your anxiety, your hurdles. Many times you can overcome them. You may not be able to. Certainly there may be situations where you just simply cannot overcome something. That's fair. Play to your strengths. Do what you're good at. And concentrate on that. But don't write anything off. Keep trying. Keep learning. That's it. That's all I've got for you today. Hopefully the lawnmower is just about done over there so I can continue doing what I'm doing. And that's it from Smoky Sonoma County, California. Take it easy.